Good afternoon, boys and girls, and welcome to episode 83, 83 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise. Coming to you today from YouTube as per usual. I saw that there were a few comments there already, so let me just go onto the tablet and make sure that everything is coming through. And the first comment today was from Mystery Forms. Thank you very much for tuning in. Smash that like button for Mr. P, you say. Thank you very much. I've smashed it, says Umberto. And Ankahar says, hi, please keep the comments and the questions coming. I will read all of them as per usual. But this is what we're doing today. You can see the video description, the name of it. There's a clue here. There's a clue here. We're doing another best of selection today, and I'm going to be presenting to you my top 10 best rose perfumes. As per usual, with these best of lists, with these best of videos, I have done my best not to overthink things, and within the space of about an hour to sort of think, okay, right, if I had to compile a list of my top 10 favorite roses now, what would it be? It may well be slightly different if I were to do it tomorrow, but this is it. As of this moment in time, these are the roses that I've chosen, and also some of it has to do with the fact with what samples I was able to get hold of, because as you will appreciate, getting samples of things that I may not have already in my collection isn't the easiest thing in the world at the moment. I hope you're all well. I'll say this again at the halfway point, but I'll say it now too. Please consider subscribing to my channel if you haven't already done so. Please like this video, give it a thumbs up if you do like it. If you're watching it on Facebook, various likes, etc. are very much welcome too. And also, a few people, for some reason, after the last couple of videos, a few people have been in touch to say that they're never aware of when the next video is going to be. I try to give as much notice as possible. It isn't always easy for me to give more than 2 days notice. 2 days notice is probably about the sort of average that I manage. However, if you've subscribed to the YouTube channel, you also need to click on the notifications. You need to enable notifications, and that's the little bell, isn't it? I think the line is, click on the bell. And if you do that, then when I post a little notice on YouTube to say that a video is coming, you should then get a notification, or you should get an email to say that the live video is taking place. So subscribing on its own isn't always just enough. You also need to get the notifications thing so that you are aware of when a new video has become available. Okay, having said all of that, we're going to be rosy today, so I would like to know what some of your favorite rose perfumes are, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the recording. It doesn't matter, although obviously if you are watching live, then we can have a bit of interaction. Please tell me where you are. Hello from Texas, I've seen one. Thank you very much. I am going to get through to around to all of the comments. But what rose do we start with? I've just rung your bell, somebody says. Perfect. What rose do we start with? Hello from Warsaw, I've seen, says Shimon. You have to give me a rough idea of where in Warsaw, because I know Warsaw fairly well, so tell me where. We will start with a Frederic Malle, but not the one you're thinking of, okay? We might get to the one you're thinking of. So here is the Frederic Malle. I've got this one only in the travel size, which is fine. And it is, I need to be careful not to drop this, because I once dropped one of these, and the glass in these is quite delicate, which is why I think the brand recommends that you use the travel atomizer, the travel container rather. It is, appropriately enough for this list of rose videos, it is Une Rose, composed by Edouard Flechier, and this one was, I'm just looking, this one was not part of the original 2000 lineup of debut scents from Frederic Malle. This one came out in 2003. It didn't make it onto my list of my top 10 favourite Malles, even though I do love it, which is why it's being included here. So here we go. We're starting top 10 best rose perfumes with Flechier's Une Rose. And why do I like this one so much? I actually haven't smelt it for a little while. Where can we pop it? Oh, I am going to be just beyond swooning by the end of this video, because, I mean, it is a little bit of a cliche, I suppose. Oh, Plac Bavicella, says Shimon. I know exactly where that is, so you're very, very welcome. Thanks for tuning in. Roses, I'm sure a lot of you out there who are perfume fanatics, perfume geeks, probably had this thing that when you were a kid of, trying to make rose perfume, trying to put rose petals in water, thinking that is how you would make a rose perfume. And rose is probably the most potent symbol of perfumery, even though it's not the most commonly used ingredient in perfumery by volume, by virtue of it being so expensive. It may be one of the most common ingredients in the sense that there's this myth out there, which may have some truth to it, that almost every single perfume contains at least a drop of rose and jasmine, because it's a material that is so multifaceted, so complex, that it always lends a sort of richness, depth to any composition. And with all of that in mind, I think Une Rose from Frederic Malle is a good place to start. Do you know what? The very first thing that I thought to myself now, as I was smelling it, is that for some reason the booziness, the plumminess, really reminded me of Dior's Poison. And of course, Flechier did have a hand in making Poison, but we'll put that to one side for the moment. This is the name here is telling. The name here is very, very important, because yes, okay, it could be translated as one rose, but I think it's also the idea of it being the completeness of a rose. And when I tend to write about this perfume, or when I write about this perfume, I tend to sort of say that this is the rose in its entirety. So yes, it's the beautiful smell that we associate with the petals, but it's also the green of the leaves. Notice how I've handily brought these roses in here to illustrate my point, and it's also the thorns. We haven't got any thorns on this, and I think it's also got a sense of the earth, of the soil in which the rose grows, and you get the totality of the plant here. The way that the thorns are manifested is really interesting, because this perfume famously contains quite a hefty dose of a material called caranal. Is the kind of material that falls into the category of what some people call ambery woods, some people call spiky woods. Some individuals are quite hyperosmic to these materials. They're super sensitive to them. And for instance, if you smell caranal neat or at a high concentration, it can literally feel as though something's just gone right through the inside of your nose and stripped a whole layer of the inside of your nose away. It does have a kind of Velcro abrasive-like quality to it, but obviously the whole thing about materials like that is that they need to be dosed very, very carefully. And if caranal works on you in the sense that you are not hypersensitive to it, then you will probably be able to appreciate the beauty of this composition, because you get the rasp of the thorns. You get just that slight suggestion of danger, but you know, I can smell it and not think, oh my goodness, I've just been attacked by thorns ripping away the insides of my nose. It's an interesting sensation if you ever want to experience it, because you don't actually come to any harm, but it is an interesting sensation. And yes, as I say, the greenness is there, really, really beautiful to wear. Maybe towards the end starts becoming a little bit sweeter than you might expect. Malle, the brand, also famously go on about this truffle accord, that this is the scent that contains this truffle accord. I kind of get that, I suppose, in the earthiness, in the oiliness of the earthy quality, but you know, don't be put off by that. It is, you know, this is a rose is a rose is a rose. But what's fascinating about it as well is that it's not a straightforward soliflor. We've got at least one soliflor coming up. I think actually I would say one soliflor coming up. And the rose soliflors tend to be innocent, whereas this is too complex to just be innocent. Right. We've managed to do one perfume before the 10-minute mark, but I can see that there are loads and loads of comments coming through, so let's get through. Wow, this may be the episode where I may actually not be able to do every single comment. So hello back to everybody who's said hello. I'm just going to very quickly go through that. Ilias says Yasu. Johnny's in Alabama. Peggy says hi. Frederick's in the Netherlands. What's up, Buttercup says dream of me no more. Q George is here as well, and Eric. Peggy says love the shirt. Yeah, did you see what I did there? Thank you very much. Chang says hello from Paris. We've got somebody in Bulgaria. Anita's in Dublin. My liege, I dedicate this name to you, says Vintage Solid Water Seeking Creed Lover. Oh, I wonder who that could be. You are so looking for trouble, Vintage Solid Water Seeking Creed Lover. Dariush says hello from Lithuania, or Darius. Forever Fragrant Kid says hello to everybody. So hello, hello, hello. Somebody in Seattle who loves roses. Fantastic. Somebody in Croatia. Rose de Taif, Paris, Monte Carlo, and Calligraphy Rose Aramis says Shimon are his favourites. Yeah, I like the Aramis one, the Calligraphy Rose. I love Une Rose, says Eric. I recently bought a bottle. Arkadiusz says, hi from Serbia. It was hard for me to find a rose-based fragrance that doesn't remind me of old ladies. What's wrong with being reminded of old ladies? So after a lot of testing, my only two rose fragrances are Amouage Lyric Man and Tom Ford Noir Extrême. At least one of those will be coming up later today. Peggy says it's a meditative rose. Yeah, I guess so. I mean, to me, the most meditative rose, or one of the most meditative roses, is the one that you all know is coming up at one point in this broadcast. No prizes for guessing. Mohammed says Library Collection Opus 10 by Amouage. Okay, interesting. Ilias says, yep, that was me, child experimenting with rose petals. Yeah, I know it was a lot of us. Vintage Solid Water Seeking. You need to change your name back. I'm not going to keep saying that. Says, wore some Tahiti Rose Otto neat last night. I can't have enough of it. Laurie says, good morning from San Diego, California. Your reviews are such a welcome part of my day. Thank you very much. That's really, really sweet. Thank you. I just tried Le Mat for the first time yesterday. Very impressive to me, at least. What do you think of it? Le Mat? Eric says, that reminds me of Denise Beaulieu's Perfume Lover, when Duchaufour's last modification of her perfume had a rich rose note added to flesh it out. I don't remember that bit of the book, but there you go. Yeah, there are lots of perfume stories like that. Mohammed says his favourite one is Stella by Stella McCartney. The roses I wear the most, says Frederic, are Rose Poivrée from the different company. Yeah, that's an interesting one. And Au Soir from Parfum d'Empire. Le Mat is very interesting. Plus, I love the Major Arcana, so that does it for me. I don't know that one. Hello from the Champagne Ardennes region in France, says Lolita. Hi from the USA, says Vanny. Une Rose to me is Mal's truest rose masterpiece, dark and gothic. Conversely, I appreciate Vuitton's Rose de Vent. Yeah, I seem to remember thinking that was okay. I'd need to check my notes again. Hello from Paris. Thank you for continuing to make the wonderful videos. It is more than a pleasure. I'm just pleased to be able to do them, because you never know how things are going to go. Andy says, my recent rose admiration has been directed towards Nin Charve by Guerlain Nahema, which is a phenolic smoky rose, and Demachy's Acqua di Parma Rosa Nobile, which I love on my wife. Let's give that one a mention now, because Madame Persolaise really, really loves it, especially for the summer. Is this the second time, Andy, we've got some kind of an overlap with our wives? I'm just thinking, because if it is, that's a little bit freaky. It hasn't made it into my top 10. It nearly made it, because I guess I just prefer my roses to be, on the whole, a little bit more dramatic. I don't know, but it is great, and because it's one of Madame Persolaise's favourite roses, I suppose I should give it a shout out. We need to move on. I have just blind bought Rose Flash, says Pine Rocks, but not sure it's for me. Any thoughts on this one? I'm pretty sure I reviewed it on the blog a while ago, so do a search for Tower Rose Flash. Hello from London, says Nazanine. Am I late to say hello? You're never too late to say hello. Let's see what other comments there are. Hello from Sweden. My favourite rose perfume, says Creed Lover, Malik Al Taif, Ottoman Empire, more of an oud than a rose. Ansar Rose from Sultan Pasha Atars, and Rosa Verdade from Mellifluence, and Neat Rose Otto. I miss YSL's Paris, says Laurie. Such a beautiful composition. And I adore YSL's Paris, but I don't think that has survived reformulations particularly well. I would need to kind of go back and check. But absolutely, when it came out, Sophia Groisman's Paris for YSL was just that. I think Paris was the smell that you wanted to capture when you tried to make perfume from rose petals as a kid. I think that just got something about that rose was so hyper real. It is Ashfaq, says, yeah, I know it's you, Ashfaq. It's fine, I got it, don't worry. You're matching a matching shirt. You're wearing a matching shirt, yeah. Do you like Oud Isfahan, says Raf. It's not in the top 10, but funnily enough, that's another one that Madame Persolaise likes. And Ilias says, I must admit, I'm not a fan of the brand, but Penhaligon's Hammam Bouquet is one of the few rose scents that I love. Yeah, good call, actually, that one. Evo says, sometimes we should talk about gendering perfume. I really hate how some men talk about wearing a rose as being feminine and not appropriate for a man. I think we can talk about it, and I think all we need is 5 seconds. That's a load of rubbish. Wear what you like. End of subject. We have got today a rose that's sort of aimed overtly at men, but all of these are totally unisex as far as we're concerned. End of story. Andy says to me, Noir Épice is a rose fragrance, but I reckon people here might disagree with me. I'll leave them to disagree with you if you like. Eric agrees this Paris is great. And Huang says, your shirt perfectly fits the topic. Thank you very much. Right, so the second one on the list is one where I'm very, very fortunate to be able to say I've already done a video on it, and it is Guerlain Nahema. You knew that was coming. That's from 1979, of course, composed by Jean-Paul Guerlain, one of my favorite Guerlains of all time, and one of my favorite perfumes of all time. This is a factice, by the way. It's a dummy that I managed to pick up at an antiques shop in Midhurst, of all places. So again, if I manage to do this, and YouTube is at the moment being quite difficult with making me wait a very long time to be able to make certain edits to the videos. I used to be able to make edits almost instantly, but now I seem to have to wait almost 24 hours for the videos to process. But anyway, once I'm able to do this, I will be able to say, up here you will find a link to my dedicated Nahema video, the video that I've done just on Guerlain Nahema, so we don't need to waste more time talking about it now, so we can move on to the other ones. And what should we do next? Well, we're gonna have two from this brand, so let's start with this one, and let me start with the one that I don't have in the proper bottle, and I'm sorry that I haven't got it, so I'm not gonna flash it up because I've just got this little sampler vial, but with the other one that I have is in its proper bottle, so you don't know what this is yet. Ha ha ha. This is by Andy Tower, and this is Tower Perfumes Une Rose Vermeille from 2010. I'm sure there will be a lot of fans of this out there. By the way, I'm just curious, how many of you out there are aware of the Tower brand? I mean, I know that in perfume geek circles that I'm aware of, Andy Tower is almost a sort of poster boy for independent perfumery. So I'm guessing a lot of you will have heard of him, but are there still people out there who haven't tried Tower perfumes? Now, Andy Tower, he's a Swiss perfumer based in Zurich. He really knows how to handle rose notes very well. And I probably could have included 2 more of his roses in this top 10, certainly one, but I just thought, okay, well, two from one brand is probably plenty. And this, I think, is probably his cheekiest rose, his most gourmand rose, maybe in a way. Again, fantastically named, because it's called the Vermilion Rose, and that's perfect because you really get the redness of the flower here. It's got a kind of tart raspberry-ish note at the top, but not overly fruity. So this isn't like a sickly fruit bomb that hits you. Andy is also great at making very beautiful, very sensuous, very smooth, ambery, vanillic bases, and that of course lends itself brilliantly to rose. And you've just got this really fantastic interplay between the sweetness of the rose, the milky notes, the creamy notes. It's probably his creamiest rose, which lends the whole a really playful quality. This is a smiling rose. I'm just looking at what I've got coming up for you, and this is probably in a way the most carefree, youthful rose in the top 10 that I've chosen. Rose as the ingenue, but the ingenue who's also got a little bit of sass and isn't going to have the wool pulled over her eyes too quickly. And And I gather that it hasn't been one of Andy's most successful releases, which is a shame, because I don't get it. You know, with this taste out there for sticky fruit bombs, I would have thought that something that goes in the direction of more gourmand scents would have been massively successful. You know, when this first came out, I actually thought it would be a huge hit, and it was popular. But I actually thought it would become like one of the sort of cornerstones of his brand. But maybe it's not sticky enough. Of course, that's what I like about it. The fact that it's measured. The dosage of everything is very carefully balanced. Maybe there's a touch too much greenness about it, but it's really very distinctive. You know, if you out there like say Guerlain's Petite Robe Noire, but you're not aware of this scent from Andy Tower, you absolutely need to check it out, because I think it may be up your street. Right, let's do some comments, because I've technically done 2 perfumes now, haven't I? Here we go. Darius says, my favourite rose is Check and Speak 88. I like Diptyque's Opone and both rose perfumes from Hermes. Fair enough. Une Rose by Frederic Malle says, Right Glory, and Taif by Ormond Jane are my favourites. Please suggest a smoky rose, says Fawn. Well, I think we may have one coming up, so just stay tuned. Rose Vermeille says, Eric, I almost bought that recently. What did you buy instead? What made you stop? Lolita says, please, I'm looking for a sophisticated cherry rose-based perfume. Any suggestions? Well, I mean, I know I said raspberry, but, you know, the one we've just talked about has got that fruity quality, but perhaps somebody else can help as well. So people get thinking on cherry roses for Lolita. Shimon says, Lonesome Rider is one of the best perfumes ever, but that's off topic. Well, only in the sense that it's Tower, so you're okay with that. Yet to try Tower's roses, says Ashfaq. Well, you might like them. Tower, says Ilias. If there could be a top 10 of all time, Coeur du Désert would definitely make it. Okay, so you prefer that version. By the way, did you know that L'air du Désert is now available as a solid perfume? Check out Andy's site. Where were we? Hello from Puerto Rico, says Abdel Sarkis. I found Phi by Tower to be very gourmand, actually. Fair enough. Ashfaq says, Kandahar has been on my mind since the recommendation from a fellow Persolaise gang member. I heard Rose Chypree is quite good as well. Cartier Déclaration d'un Soir is a very good masculine rose. Good point, yeah, says Abdel Sarkis. And Ankalhar says, Francis Kirkjian Oud Silk Mood Extrait is my favourite dominant rose. Yes, that's the rosiest of his ouds, isn't it? You're right there, actually. Fwang says, Petite Robe Noire is spot on, cherry rose with leather twist. Abdel Sarkis, if you love roses, Rose Santal from Chatillon Luxe is very good. Eric says he wasn't shipping to the US. Oh, as in Andy. And I wanted to get it straight from him. I went with La Mire instead after your Lutens video. Well, I hope you told Lutens that you were persuaded to add to their coffers thanks to my video, but I wonder if they're aware. So I suppose maybe, I wonder where you're meant to get Tower's perfumes if you're in the US, maybe from Lucky Scent. I'm thinking that's probably... do you have a suggestion for a rose that has more of a green note through it? Perhaps one coming up. Nazanin, as jasmine and rose are salt and pepper for any perfume, hope you recommend a simple note rose for layering. Okay. Pisebi, I don't like too much rose incense by Tower. It felt very unpolished to me. I quite like it, but it's not in the top 10. It's not in the top 10. Okay, so we need to get going. Let's go a little bit zen, okay? So if I were to show you this, somebody's mentioned the Hermescence. I will give you about 10 seconds while I stare prettily at the camera. Which one do you think is going to emerge from this little Hermes pouch as one of my top 10 favorite roses? The comments aren't coming. Rose Ikebana. Andy, well done. I'm so impressed with you people. There we go. And you can't actually see the name there, can you? Can you just about make it out? Yeah, Ikebana, lots and lots of people. Ankar, thank you very much, Ankar. I really appreciate it. I think I know what that means now because somebody did that the other day. So I'm very, very grateful. Thank you. In my naivety, I didn't know what that was. Lots and lots of comments. I love, love, love Rose Ikebana. Of course, it is from the Hermes collection, which is basically another way of saying it is insanely expensive. But thank goodness that they do these travel sprays. They call them the Nomads, I think. And I haven't smelt this for a while, but I think it probably will always be one of my favourite roses. So I knew it had to be added to this list. What I'm really, really smelling, even though the blotter is way over there, is I'm smelling Towers Rose Vermeille, because he knows how to make his perfumes really diffusive too. So let's pop this. This is, of course, as you all know, you don't need me to tell you, this is by Monsieur Jean-Claude Helena. It was released in 2004. And again, I know I've been saying this quite a few times, but I'll keep saying it when it's appropriate. Really, really gorgeously named, because it has got that, it's famously it's meant to have a kind of sake note to it. And you do get something slightly papery, dry, vinegary, but it's terribly, terribly, terribly composed. In that most beautifully elegant Japanese way, in that way that only Japan seems to be able to manage, where suddenly all excess is stripped away. Anything that is completely unnecessary, anything that is completely unnecessarily, superfluous is stripped away, and you've got this pristine white background, and just against that background you've got like a single rose. I'm picking up actually quite a sort of citrus fruity note to it as well. He's made it, somebody asking about green, that there's a strong green note to it as well. It's very, very quiet, it's very, very zen, meditative. I don't know, it doesn't, I don't think of it as being spiritual in that sense, although of course, just the fact that it's this single rose could lead you to think of it as conveying some kind of a spiritual experience. But it is just so gorgeously minimalist. The Hermes, a lot of people get annoyed with the Hermes because they say that they don't last very long. I personally admire the fact that Jean-Claude Helena doesn't get overly hung up on longevity. I think his whole modus operandi was that a scent should last as long as it needs to last. So when he made Cologne Bigarade for Frederic Malle, he made that last for as long as you expect a cologne to last, which is to say, not terribly long, because you are supposed to keep reapplying a cologne, and a cologne is meant to give you an instant hit. A spritz of it is meant to give you a momentary boost. You don't want to keep smelling those citruses and those oranges and lemons constantly. And I think he applied that same philosophy to the Hermes. Some of them last a lot longer than others. This is meant to be a passing rose, a fleeting rose. You see it, you interact with it, you may appreciate its beauty, you may not, but after a while you move on. Perhaps you carry the memory of it in your head, perhaps you don't. Again, Helena famously said that the Hermes are meant to be like a perfume haiku. And you totally get that in something like Ikebana. It is not going to try too hard. I love the towers because they last forever. I love this because it doesn't, and it shouldn't. But it's very, very well judged. Quite a peppery feel coming out of it as well. So if you want a rose that sends the message that actually somebody needs to get very, very, very close to you before they can smell it, then this is it. Whereas something like Nahema, for instance, which has the sillage, the world will still be smelling of Nahema, and another one that's coming up long after the apocalypse. Then you can go for that. Okay, so we're only 4 down. Maybe I should do another one before we do comments. Oh, let's just keep going though for the moment with comments. So you guessed Rose Ikebana, fantastic. Forever Fragrant Kid agrees that that's a lovely one. Do you find similarities between Rose Ikebana and Kelly Kalesh EDP? I'd have to go back to it. Off the top of my head, I can't remember. I haven't smelled Kelly Kalesh for a long time. Smash the like button, gang, says Ashfaq. Yeah, smash it, guys. Smash the... No, on the Persolaise gang, we say, do kindly click on the like button. Thank you very much, kind ladies and gentlemen. Mystery Forms, enjoying Sultan Pasha's Ensar Rose. Cheers from Canada. Thanks for tuning in. Ambi Rouge EDT has a fantastic rose as well. Yeah, fair enough. Maya says, I do smell the truffle note in Une Rose too. Do you know of some gourmand truffle perfume, one that smells like truffle oil and not the damp earthy accord that I get in the Tom Ford ones? Off the top of my head, no. Can anybody else help? Eric says, Rose Ikebana, I love 99% of Hermes Creations and Rose Ikebana is in my collection. I recommended it for a non-perfumista friend's wedding perfume. Interesting. And did it go down well? I suppose it did. Pensive is a good word for it. Says, yes, thank you, Forever Fragrant Kid. Absolutely. Yes, perfect word. Thank you. Green as in rose leaves, says Ashfaq. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. Green as in maybe like, almost like an ivy leaf green, something like that. Charlatan is the definition of a gourmand truffle rose accord. Ah, okay. Elia says, Elena is an olfactory magician. But then again, so is Christine Nagel. Is Tuiles au Poivre going to make an appearance? I quite liked it. Yeah, I did. I did as well. And I think I reviewed it on a video. But no, it's not going to be in the top 10 because I don't think of it so much as a rose. Hi from Edinburgh, says S. Murphy. Afternoon all. Sorry I'm late, says DB70. Yeah, you should be sorry. Smash that like button now, DB70, just for being late. Any thoughts about Diptyque's Oud Palau, says Daniel. I think I reviewed it on the blog. So go to persolaise.com, please. I'm pretty sure I did. Thank you for talking about longevity, says My World of Fragrances. Sometimes people can't look past that. Yes, I mean, obviously it's a factor, but it's only one factor. I'm so sad that Hermes smells good, but fleetingly so, says Fong. Well, okay. My mum uses tea rose, says Abdul Sarkis. Andy says, I agree about the longevity. It's not something that concerns me. Reckon it's an overrated quality in perfume oftentimes. I wore Beach Hut the other day and it overpowered me. There you go. Hello from the USA, says Nelly. Late, but glad I could catch you. Thank you very much for tuning in. And very, very quickly then, this perfume is fruity floral with little bit acid vibes, says Lolita. Yeah, I would agree with that. Agnieszka says, Valentina is supposed to have truffle. Okay, fair enough. And let's just do a couple more comments. I have indeed smashed the like, says DB70. And Iris Ukiyoe is pretty, says Forever Frag. Yes, but in a different way. That's more like walking into a flower shop, isn't it? That particular effervescence. Okay, so moving on. I need to get a move on now, don't I? Because we're over the half-hour mark. Guerlain Nahema is my holy grail rose. So interesting. Yes, absolutely. Let's do this. Somebody was talking about smoky roses. Somebody was talking about roses that are overtly aimed at men. So let's just have a reveal. You know what this is, don't you? Nemo is beautiful, says Forever Fragrant Kid. Absolutely. You know what this is. And it's when I look at these sorts of perfumes from Amouage, you know, the ones that have been released in the last couple of decades, or that I think, are we ever actually going to have another perfume again that is creative, directed by Christopher Chong? If you ever happen to watch this, Mr. Chong, please, please, please get back into the perfume world because we miss your work. This is Lyric Man from 2008. And we just need to spray it again. This is the lyric duo, as you will be aware. So Lyric Man, Lyric Woman, were of course Amouage's takes on. I'm just going to make sure that this is looking okay here. Amouage's takes on Rose, but they're very, very, very complex, and I like them both. Probably prefer the Man slightly. I tend to prefer a lot of the Amouage ones that are aimed at men, but I also thought, let's have one in there that is at least very, very overtly aimed at men. This is really complex. You can't sum it up in just... Lyric is a bit too soapy for me, says P7. Okay, I totally get that note as well. Maybe somewhere sort of cross between soapy and powdery. But there's so much more. That there's a real darkness to it. There's a softness to it. There is a lyricism to it. There is a poetry to it, and yet, you know, the color of that bottle I think is very telling because the poetry is romantic, but it's a kind of doomed Romeo and Juliet sort of love. I think except maybe if Romeo and Juliet were older. You know, I don't think of this as a sort of doomed love affair between young people, but maybe a doomed love affair between people who've been around the block a few times and know a thing or two about relationships and have experienced heartache, and you know what it means to lose somebody. Lyric is a bit dirty. Well, yeah, a bit in a good way, and I think that's its maturity coming through. Really beautifully handled, woody notes. The rose is very much part of a whole in this one. So you could also read it as all sorts of other place it in other families. You could read it as a patchouli scent, I suppose, a woody scent. But we were talking about, somebody was asking about smoky roses. I would say check this one out if you haven't, regardless of whether you're a man or a woman, obviously. It's just profound. It's very, it gives you, it makes you pause, you know, it makes you pause for breath, and it also makes you reflect and maybe think about doomed relationships of your own, if you've had any. Very, very, very touching and heartbreaking as well. I was trying to think of what other story or movie I might give as an example of a sort of doomed love affair, and I can't keep saying The English Patient because I keep doing The English Patient, and it's not the sort of unrequited love of the remains of the day, and it's not actually that buttoned up, precise, repressed love of Scorsese's The Age of Innocence, you know, the Edith Wharton adaptation. It's not that. I'd need to think of something else. Throw me some ideas of like movies about doomed love affairs, but ones that are not, you know, like teenagers or young people. I'm sure Casino Royale, says Shimon. No, not Casino Royale. I mean, okay, maybe, but no. The Way We Were movie, says Peggy. Do you know, I've never seen that. That's the Streisand-Redford one, isn't it? In the Mood for Love, Eric says. Ah, my favourite movie of all time. Certainly one of my favourites. You know, you may have something there. You may have something there. Madame Butterfly, says S. Murphy. We should ask Christopher Chong, because of course he's a huge, huge opera freak. But In the Mood for Love, oh my goodness, Eternal Sunshine, Now Voyager, Brief Encounter, Great Expectations. I'm so pleased that actually I have seen all these films. Now Voyager. Maybe. Now Voyager's a good one. English Patient, yeah, but we can't do English Patient because I keep using English Patient. Kramer versus Kramer, no, there are no children involved in this perfume. They haven't got to the stage of having kids. Casablanca, I know it sounds stupid. It doesn't sound stupid. The Notebook. Terminator 2. Yes, why not? Let's say this is the Terminator 2. There Will Be Blood. What's the doomed love affair in There Will Be Blood? I can't remember. I love that movie. There were roses there, says Sam. Fair enough. I love the response I just got there. But no, In the Mood for Love. In the Mood for Love, maybe, yeah. Although I can't remember. In the Mood for Love, they don't ever actually, spoiler alert, they don't ever actually get into a relationship, do they? Isn't the whole point that the main characters never have a relationship with each other and then they find out that their respective spouses have been cheating on them? Isn't that kind of, I can't remember. It's been a while since I've seen it, but I love that movie. Absolutely adore the film. Okay. So I should say we're not going to let this video last longer than an hour, and we are almost at the 39-minute mark. So what this is that you're watching episode 83 of Love at First Scent with me, Persolaise, live on YouTube, but of course the vast majority of you will be watching it as a recording. So thank you very much for tuning in either way. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and please click on the little bell so that you get notifications about when future videos will be coming. And also please like the video or give it a thumbs up if indeed you do like it. Feel free to ask questions, leave comments. Please consider supporting my work on Ko-fi as well. And now I am going to say that in this rundown of my top 10 favourite rose perfumes, that's what we're doing, top 10 best roses, obviously we have got to have the Empress herself, Portrait of a Lady from Frederic Malle, composed by Dominique Ropion, released in 2010. But again, I'm going to say, I've done a whole video on Portrait of a Lady, not that long ago actually, so hopefully a link to it will appear here, and you should just be able to go straight to the video. If you're not getting a link, just search for Persolaise's Portrait of a Lady on YouTube and the video will come up. So let us waste no more time talking about that one because she sits over there next to Nahema. And I think that means that we've got 4 to go, which is great. And let's do let's do a simple one. Let's do a simple-ish one. You know, simple but not simplistic, okay? Because simple is hard to achieve in perfumery. We talked about this one in another video because not that long ago I did the top 10. No, I did top 7 for that. I tell a lie. It was top 7 best Serge Lutens perfumes. Anyone watched Portrait of a Lady on Fire? Great movie. Yes, yes. If you can find it, it's, for example, if you're in the UK, it's on the Curzon on Demand service. I can't believe this. I should be on commission now for a movie, but it's available on streaming services. Portrait of a Lady on Fire, very, very impressive movie. I really loved it. This is Sa Majeste la Rose from Serge Lutens. This is the only one in the 10 that is a real out-and-out, straightforward soliflor. And I think that causes some people to be dismissive of it, but I really like it. I think I would imagine, or you know, I know having spoken to people about it, that it's really, really difficult doing a soliflor well, because you know, if you've ever tried making a perfume, you will know that it is really not just a case of taking some Rose Otto and diluting it in alcohol. For a start, you couldn't do that because, you know, the anti-allergen regulations would prevent you from just, you know, pouring a whole load of stuff into there. And you couldn't do that because actually the whole point of making a successful soliflor is that a perfumer thinks about the smell of the plant and says, okay, well, this is this top facet that I'm going to stretch out and emphasize at the top, and this is how I'm going to support the heart with other materials. This is how I'm going to bolster the base to bring out the things that I smell in the base of the flower. And it is absolutely a composition that is made to look or made to feel as though all they've done is just taken some rose oil and diluted it. And that's the trick of it. And to do well, you need a lot of skill and probably a lot of experience and a lot of patience. So yeah, you smell this and you think, oh yes, I've just buried my face in some gorgeously scented roses. There are still some scented roses out there, believe it or not. These ones don't have a smell at all, unfortunately, although they do look great. For the first time in ages, we've been able to get some fresh flowers into the house, and we're very, very excited. So you smell the rose, and you know, this was by Christopher Sheldrake, by the way, as are most Lutens perfumes now, and this was released, I'm just checking it out here, in 2000, so it's 20 years old now. I hadn't realized that. You don't see any seams, you don't see any of the joins. All you get is just this beautifully creamy, honeyed, slightly powdery, slightly green, slightly effervescent actually. You know, this is a very, very happy rose. Again, touches of green, you know, the sort of leafy green. It's just spot on. Another soliflor from recent years that I like very much, hasn't made it into the top 10, is from Parle-moi de Parfum, and I think they call it A Ton of Roses, Une Tonne de Roses, composed by Michel Almarac. Again, very, very similar kind of thing. Maybe that one's a little bit powderier, but these compositions are deceptively simple. It requires perfumers of exceptional skill to be able to pull them off and make you think that all that's in here is rose, because I'm sure that there is a lot more than just rose here. There's bound to be tons more than rose. So, Sa Majeste la Rose. The one thing is, I don't think I agree with the name, because I don't think of this as being regal, particularly majestic, queen-like. I actually think of it as being more unostentatious. You know, this is a rose that actually doesn't want to attract a huge amount of attention to herself. So it's the rose lady in waiting, okay? Ladies in waiting are on my mind a lot because I'm reading the third installment of the Hilary Mantel Cromwell books, you know, The Mirror and the Light. So everything is about kings and queens and ladies in waiting and heads being chopped off. So with 3 to go, let's do some more comments. After all those movie, I enjoyed that. Maybe we should do a movie video as well. Portrait of a Lady is the best rose, says Pisebi. It certainly is one of my favourites. You planned it really well, says Mr. Persolaise. Says Ashfaq, planned what? I'm not with you there. Shimon says, somehow most of Malle fragrances fall flat for me. I'm almost anosmic to them. Ah, that's such a shame, because if you get them, then they're so fantastic. Fille de Berlin says Forever Fragrant Kid. I really, really like it, but it's not in the top 10. Really, really like it, actually. Fantastically cold rose. Probably one of the coldest roses I can think of. Fernando says, hello there. Have you tried Lorenzo Villarese's Musk? Not for a long time. I'd have to check my notes to see what I thought of it. Dream of Me No More. Hedgerow Rose. Sa Majeste la Rose has a herbal honey vinaigrette feel. I like herbal honey. Yeah, absolutely. Couldn't agree more. Joao says, Perfume, the story of a murderer. Doomed love affair. What's the doomed love affair there? What, that he just kills the girl? Ilias says, Soliflores can be challenging in terms of wear. True. By the way, I've been wanting to try Ocean Rain, Rudnitska's last work, which is thought to have a very prominent rose note. Have you tried it? Not for ages. I'd need to try and I haven't got it, so I'd have to try and get hold of it somehow. Ashfaq says, it has a lot of isolates to boost the Rose Otto vibe. Do you know that for a fact, or is that you sort of using your fantastic nose? Vanny says, I finally bit the bullet and added Portrait to my collection thanks to Madonna's endorsement. I love the fact that I think this is the second video where we're talking about the fact that Madonna wears Portrait. And this is all just based on an Instagram video, or apparently an interview where she says she wears it. I thought she was a tuberose girl, but I kind of get a huge kick out of the fact that both Madonna and Madame Persolaise have Portrait of a Lady as their signature scent. A little bit freaky, but also kind of cool. So, of course, when we last went to see her in London on the Madame X tour, which actually now seems, there was a time when people went to concerts, wow. Of course, Madame Persolaise had to wear Portrait of a Lady. Dream of Me No More says, I agree on Majeste being wrong. I think it's more gypsy. Yeah, interesting point. Rebecca says, are you partial to a particular colour rose in perfume as reds, pinks and whites all smell differently? Probably pinks, I would have to say, but I do love them all. Ashfaq says, you knew we would mention Portrait of a Lady, so covered it earlier. Oh yeah, okay, but I said that's why I did that video. And Forever Fragrant says, she's a fracas girl too. Yeah, she loves tuberose. And I have it on good authority that apparently she also used to wear Caron's Poivre before it was discontinued. She does like her perfumes, our Madge. She knows a thing or two about her perfumes. Okay, with 3 to go, we need to speed up. And I have so much to say about these ones, but let's do, this is a really, really grand one. And I think this is one that doesn't get enough love in the perfume community. It could be, you guys know what this is already, right? It could be because, A, this brand doesn't ship to everywhere around the world, but also this is pretty expensive, because this is the extrait version, so not just the eau de parfum, but this is the extrait version of Neela Vermeire Creations Mohur. Not mohair, but as in, I can't say it in the sort of proper Indian way, Mohur, M-O-H-U-R. The extrait came out in 2014, whereas the original EDP came out in 2011. All of the brand scents so far have been composed by Bertrand Duchaufour. This is so special, and the fact that it's an extrait actually makes it even more special. You know, I've sort of talked a lot about, it's so special I can't even get the cap off. Right, here we go. You know, I've talked about grand roses, and Nahema is the sort of quintessential grand rose. Portrait of a Lady is a beautiful, massively grand rose. Mohur, especially the extrait, absolutely could take its place next to those two great roses. It is easily one of the most stunning roses of recent years. I almost hate spraying this because I don't want to waste it. It is just so beautiful on skin. And again, by no means is it a soliflore. It's extremely complex. Let's give it pride of place here. Can you see that well if I do that? Yeah, that's all right, isn't it? And a lot of Neela Vermeire's perfumes, the Neela Vermeire Bertrand Duchaufour collaborations, especially the first ones, are based on a really, really, really fantastic, just heart-stopping and heart-breaking sandalwood, fantastically designed alliance, seamlessly joined, alliance between floral heart and a kind of steamed milk, sweet steamed milk Indian dessert confection type feel, but I don't mean that in a sort of off-putting gourmand way at all. There is nothing sickly sweet about any of these perfumes at all. That sense of sweetness is just there. So it's got that signature. It's got that same feel that I also get from Traillis, which is probably still my favorite Neela Vermeire perfume. But this is according to the brand, has a dose of natural oud as well, used as to sort of create an accord with the rose, and it's just, if I wanted to call a perfume Sa Majeste la Rose, this would be it. Much as I love Sa Majeste la Rose, this is the one that's majestic. This is the one that is opulent, but not decadent. It's somehow wise, it's the smell. It's the smell of the palace of the wise sage that you go to visit, with fantastically multicolored light coming in through stained glass windows and beautiful crystal chandeliers, and silence and solitude and wind blowing in through the blinds in the open windows, and then in front of you there is this sage, female sage or male sage, sitting dispensing wisdom, and everything is just tinged with this really, really, really fantastically evocative, beautifully judged scent. The Mohur perfumes, the eau de parfum and the extrait are inspired by the I think I'm pretty sure and correct in saying, actually let me look it up, because I did a little screen grab just in case I needed it, because I don't want to get this wrong, as this video is going to be saved for posterity. That's it. It's inspired by the British Raj era, which is an interesting decision for Vermeire to have made, because as she says herself, this was a complex period in history for Indians, saw the flowering of unique gifts of the arts, music and education, as the website says, but also was deeply problematic because Britain was also oppressing lots of aspects of India. The blurb says it's a rose-based fragrance, a combination of opulent Mughal rose perfumes and a distinguished spicy leather bouquet that can only be imagined during high tea after a polo match. To capture this moment, Mohur has been created as a refined rose oud alliance that pays tribute to Noor Jahan's power and talent. If you haven't checked it out, indeed if you haven't checked out any of Neela Vermeire's perfumes, please do make an effort to do so. They really are something else. I mean, one of the finest brands to have launched this century, no question. And also, I think some of the best perfumes that Duchaufour has ever made. Neela Vermeire is obviously a very, very demanding, but yet fairly so demanding taskmaster. With 2 to go, let me do some comments very, very quickly. Where did we get to? DB70 says, would love to see someone do a movie scent profile for the main characters from Blade Runner. What would Deckard and Rachel wear? Gosh. I still need to try Mohur, says Forever Fragrant Kid. Ashfaq says, I think I smelt it at Jovoy Mayfair. Shame though no longer stock the Vermeire line. No, I don't think they do anymore. Christine says, I just happen to have a sample of Mohur on my desk right now. Sorting out my samples. Can't believe that. Smell it now, smell it now. Mr. Frangipani says, Lyric Man sometimes goes funky on my skin in a bad way. Okay, fair enough. Dream of Me No More agrees that this has a real patisserie edge. That doesn't sound off-putting at all, says Forever Fragrant Kid. Fair enough. Arkadiusz, I want to add that in my search I found Experimentum Crucis from Etat Libre d'Orange. Abbey Rouge Eau de Parfum, Abbey Rouge dress code, quite wearable. It's not a love, but a like for these 3. Fair enough. Any rose that reminds you of rice, says Swong. Well, the Rose Ikebana, actually, from Hermes, to an extent. More on skin, though. Ashfaq says, in terms of smell on your skin, what are the differences between the Mohur ADP and the extrait? Oh gosh, I'd have to think about it, and time is running out. Probably the richness. And Dragia says, hi from Romania. I recently discovered you and I'm fascinated about the stories behind the perfumes. Thanks for tuning in. How sweet is Mohur on a scale of 0 to 5? Ankar, scales? I don't know, 3? Something like that. Do you like Neela's recent rose? Began with an N. Oh, Nirol. Yes, that's a really, really colourful perfume, isn't it? Right, we need to move on because we've got 6 minutes and we need to do, oh, this is really, really tough. Okay, let's do the one which is not really an outlier. I always do an outlier. I suppose this is the most outlier-ish one, but it's not really an outlier. I love this stuff from Etat Libre d'Orange. Rossi de Palma collaboration with perfumers Antoine Lee and Antoine Maisondieu, released in 2007. This is Eau de Protection protection water. I love this because of how it changes over time. It's very, very famously got what they call a blood accord, which could be maybe the animalis base that they've used in some other perfumes as well. If I pop that there, will you still see it? Yeah, I think you probably will. Love this stuff, and love. Oh, this is bitter. This is a kind of, yes, I'm a rose, but get away from me. Eau de protection is the most fantastic name for this, because it really, really seems to wind its way around you like a suit of armor or a thorned coil of armor. It could be animalis, you know. I'm thinking more and more. I wonder if there's any way of getting in contact with I could contact the founder of the brand and say, does it contain animalis? And he'd probably say, I don't know, ask the perfumers. It's fantastically screechily green, unquestionably rose, and yet it's this rose beast that you're frightened of, but you still walk towards anyway. Really, really ingenious composition. Absolutely love it. Wish I thought to wear it enough. Wish I would remember to wear it more often, especially when it gets into about half an hour, 45 minutes into its development. And the last one, I said that we were going to have another one from Tower, so this is no surprise because I said that I had one in the proper bottle. It's been mentioned a few times. Here it is, in a bottle in which can you hear that? In a bottle in which I believe it doesn't exist anymore. This is when it was done as a 30 mils. I think now the brands do it as a 50 mil. This is when Andy put some beads into his 50 mil bottles to take up some of the space, so that then there would be 30 mils of liquid. This is when you see the fact that Andy Tower knows how to handle roses well, but also that he knows his vintage perfumes really well. And I've used this line before, so sorry if you've heard it before, but I absolutely, in the most gorgeous way, can smell the ghosts of lots of old Guerlains, or at least the spirit of lots of old Guerlains in some of Andy's work. And this I just love this stuff. And again, I should wear it more. What's fantastic about this one is the curious interplay between the sort of vanillic ambery base and the green top, because the greenness of the top is very unusual. It's not sort of leafy green. It's almost like a kind of violet green, maybe even, you know, a banana leaf green. There's a kind of tanginess to the green, very, very diffusive as well. So it's unlike any rose I can think of. And it's got that vintage feel, maybe because of the richness and the density, and yet there is something that opens it all up. And I think we've talked previously on these videos about how a certain sense of transparency, a certain sense of being able to breathe is what makes modern perfumes feel modern. And so this is substantial, and yet it's light on its feet. It never ever feels too bogged down. It never ever feels too heavy. Fantastically diffusive. Really, really, really distinctive. I still think it's one of the best things that Andy has ever done. And of course, it's also Chypree-like. You know, it goes into a sort of nicely woody, mossy Chypree base, because, you know, hence the name Rose Chypree. Really excellent stuff. So I should be rounding up. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please don't forget that it's absolutely perfectly fine. In fact, it's to leave comments after the live broadcast. In fact, I would like you to. So if I start saying goodbye now, another Tower that I love says, Eric, is Egoist a rose perfume to you, says Dream of Me? No, more like fruity, appley sandalwood, I would say. An excellent compliment, says Ashfaq. Yeah, I really love this one. I don't mind buying rose perfume blindly. That's a pretty good call for Deckard. Oh, I'd have to go back and see. Deckard wore Antaeus. You think Deckard wore Antaeus? Oh, I'm going to have to think about this one. I've seen Blade Runner so many times, I should be able to do this. Finally, Quarter Life, says Marilee K. I'm not a huge rose person, but I do love Andy's roses, and Chypree is my favourite. There you go. Wonderful to catch you. Wonderful to be caught, Forever Fragrant Kid. What is your favourite out of the bunch, says Mr. Frangipani. Well, it depends, but you know I love Portrait. You know I love Nahema. No, I can't choose a favourite. That's why we do top 10s, okay? So we don't choose a favourite. What about a video with sense match to your favourite movies? We could do something like that. There was something that I did like that on the blog a little while ago. Anyway, I will try to give as much notice as possible of the next video. I still want to do the one about the new Penhaligon's releases, but until then, thank you very much for tuning in. Thank you very much for interacting. It means a lot to me, and I think it's nice that we can put a smile on our faces during these difficult times, and I hope it won't be long before the difficult times are something that we can relegate to the past. Look after yourselves, and I will see you very soon. Take care now. Bye.